Hello! So, this evening we're looking at the Diamond DA-20 that's been released by iniBuilds. I didn't know this aircraft had been released, so I don't know if it is very, very recent. But I checked this evening and there it was in their marketplace, so I went and bought it because I have a problem with that sort of thing. So you can see straight away the 3D modelling is really lovely. As we've always say, as we're coming to expect, it's very reminiscent of all of these new aircraft that are coming out in the real world that don't have any panel lines. You know, they're made with modern techniques, with composites and all kinds of materials, which results in very few panel lines, very few rivets or screws or anything like that. So yes, I think the only thing that maybe lets this particular livery down is there's some dodgy textures here and there, like low resolution on that, the one there. But otherwise it looks pretty good. So let's go and jump inside and have a look around the cockpit. So instruments inside are very, very clear, which is great. But there isn't much sign of wear and tear anywhere, but it's rather odd actually, because in places there is signs of wear and tear, but it's really badly done. So this is going to be a common theme, I think, around the aeroplane. It's a real mixed bag. It's almost like it's been released a little bit early. But you can't really complain because it doesn't cost very much. The trouble is we've all been spoiled by the likes of the Coronado aircraft, which all look photorealistic, and the A2A Comanche, for example, which has got, you know, brilliant avionics modelling and systems fidelity. And then you've got things like the Black Square aircraft, which have got fantastic systems fidelity as well. So and then you get something like this, where half the switches don't work, but it's actually good fun to fly. And for a lot of people, there's probably a sweet spot there that maybe they're aiming for with this, but maybe it just needs a bit of polish. So let's go and take it for a fly rather than waffle on about it. So you can see some of the simplification, like the Gen Bat switches are stuck together. They may be in the real thing for all I know. It just seems odd to have two switches that you can't switch independently. We're going to go and turn on the position lights, and I don't think we get a fuel selector. Well, not that I've found one anyway. So let's go and put the mixture to rich. I'm just going to straighten up my camera so I can look down here with some confidence to show you around the aeroplane. So yeah, you can lift the canopy and it does work. It goes whizzing up in the air above us, and then we can click that to bring it back down. Some of the sounds, it's an odd mixed bag with the sounds as well. You'll find that out when I fire the engine up actually. So we put it on a rich mixture. Let's go and turn the magnetos to both and then over to start. Yeah, it has this kind of lawnmower-y sound, but that may be what the real thing sounds like. I really don't know. So then avionics power switch. We'll bring on the various systems. Let's go and turn the transponder on as well. So we'll just wait for the GPS to boot up. And while we're waiting for the engine, let's just open the engine up a little bit. So running it just over 1000 RPM there, look. So let's go outside and see what it sounds like from outside. So if we take up to maximum revs with it on the parking brake, will it move? So in terms of the engine modelling, what happens if I jam the throttle open and then shut it several times? Yeah, so it's quite simplified, isn't it? You can't flood it. So just wait for the GPS and we'll go for a fly, shall we? So we're at Boonville in the US, so D83. It's this lovely kind of sleepy valley. Should we... Actually no, I'll leave it on live weather. There's hardly a breath of wind today. Okay, so GPS is up and running. And I think we're pretty much good to go. So, parking brake off, sit up in our seats, and you can turn within its own length easily. We see that from outside. If you watch the car steering on the nose wheel, it's very good. But I imagine the aeroplane doesn't actually weigh much. So while we're taxiing out, let's go and put on the strobes and the taxi lights. Actually, we won't need the taxi lights, there's nothing around to tell it we're taxiing. It's got a map light as well, which I guess is like interior lighting. There's probably a... yeah, they're behind us, look, there's some lights there. Okay. So full throttle. It stays fairly stable on the runway, so it's very, very easy to stay on the centre line. So we'll rotate at 50 knots and we're in the air immediately. This doesn't have retractable gear, but you can see how stable it is. Okay, it's nice stable conditions as well today, which is helping us enormously. So let's go back inside. So you can see we're accelerating through 70 knots in the climb. Let's begin a right turn out over the valley. So just continue climbing at 1,000 feet a minute. So it's almost holding 70 knots at 1,000 feet a minute, not quite. So we'll drop back to 500 feet a minute. Seems to be a bit happier. It's not the most powerful aeroplane in the world. Visibility is very good. Okay, so we'll continue down the range. So let's go and have a look. So we're running the engine absolutely flat out at the moment. So RPM is at about 2,500. And it's still holding on to 70 knots at just around 500 feet a minute. So it's going to carry on doing that all day by the look of it. So let's get some altitude and do some quick stall testing just to see how stable it is. So we're just coming up 1,500 feet. The only problem with these less powerful aircraft is you can't get to altitude quickly. So let's have another look at it from outside. It's a lovely looking aeroplane, isn't it? I noticed there's no people in it. Something else I noticed is in the menu in Flight Simulator it says placeholder, where there should be an image for the aeroplane. So my fears about it being released earlier than it should have been may be true, but I wouldn't like to say. Okay, let's turn back around, head back down the valley, continue climbing down to 50 knots. Okay, let's do a stall. So let's go straight and level to begin with. And pull it into a climb. So with power on, it's the powered stall, pulling back, and it's dropped the left wing rather suddenly. Okay, what about with no power? So pull the engine back to idle. So if you can keep it in a straight line, it won't drop the left wing. So I suspect the left wing is down to slipstream effect potentially. So we'll try it again. I'll try and keep it more closely in the middle this time. Yeah, it really wants to drop the left wing. I was fighting to straighten that up as soon as we started slowing down, and it wouldn't let me straighten it up. So let's get it straight beforehand this time. No. Yeah, so it's definitely an aerodynamic effect that's causing that. Okay. How high are we? Do we go for a spin? Let's turn around and before we try a spin. Don't want to get much less than about 50 knots. Just going to keep an eye on the indicated airspeed. So obviously you've got the GNS, what does it say? It's a GNS 430. So, but you have no autopilot, so you're hand flying it. But it is a very small, cheap aeroplane, so. Okay, so let's go for a spin. With power on, let's see what happens. So let go, opposite rudder, dump the nose as well. Okay, so just opposite rudder wouldn't help. I had to dump the nose as well. So it will spin like a top. There's probably a label somewhere saying do not spin. Although I can't see any. I can't see any big warning labels anywhere. Sometimes aeroplanes have warning labels telling you not to spin them. Okay, let's go for an approach then as well. So where's the airfield? Directly below us. So we'll head up the valley, turn around and come back in. So we'll use this golf course as our... Oh, I believe it's a golf course anyway. It looks like one, doesn't it? But I don't think it is. We'll use this hill at the end as a marker and turn around and come back in. Yeah, it's a bit lumpy to be a golf course, probably. I don't play golf. I tend to subscribe to Mark Twain's view that golf is a good walk ruined. It might have something to do with me being absolutely garbage at it, but anyway. So, notice how fast we're going, 80 knots. Okay, so I'm going to drop the flaps all the way. So looking outside, they are ginormous flaps. But they're not having much effect on the speed, are they? So I think that might be a fault in the aeroplane, I don't know. So I'm going to side slip it as well in the hope of scrubbing some speed off. And that's not really working either. Engines are idle, flaps are at full left rudder deflection, and I'm still doing 80 knots in a gentle descent. So we're going to bring ourselves around in a circle. Wonder if we can influence it by let's just try circling. So we've got rid of a lot of speed by lifting the nose, obviously, and pulling alpha around the turn isn't helping with making the stall warning go off. But look at that speed creeping up again. So this is in the dirtiest configuration I can think of, and we're gaining speed again. So I'm going to go nose high with left rudder. It's sort of working to lose some speed, but not tremendously. But it may be the real aeroplane is this slippery, even with flaps. So I'm just holding it off the runway to see how long we last until we have to put it down. See, it's coasting at 45 knots and it doesn't want to land. We're down now. So wheel brakes, flaps up. So yeah, I really don't know what to make of this aeroplane. It's great fun to fly around, but it seems to be it needs a little bit of work. But this is all based on, you know, just me having a hunch that maybe not all is right. But it may be that the real aeroplane really is tremendously slippery and it's just as difficult as it appears to slow down. I do love all the noises it makes. So we'll just taxi back down the runway and have a look at it from outside as we do so. I mean, it is a lovely looking aeroplane, isn't it? It's probably used as a trainer all over the world, I imagine. Just for basic airmanship, you know, exercises. But yeah, that modelling, the lack of drag on the flaps seems to be, there's something might be wrong there. I don't know. We'd have to have a real DA-20 pilot come and tell us, I guess. And to have a play with it, ideally. And see if they agree with how it behaves. But other than that, it's great fun. And it looks good. It's not too complicated. So if you just want something to go for a quick fly in, and you're not really too worried about, you know, fouling the spark plugs or anything like that, or maybe you're just starting out and you know you don't want to have too many things to juggle, then maybe it's a good aeroplane for you for that reason as well. The visibility inside it is fantastic. Right, let's bring this round. It's the parking area. Okay, brakes on. So if we pull the mixture back, okay, and then obviously we can turn everything off inside. Avionics master switch, turn the magnetos off. There's no key, which is a bit of a shame. And then the main switch is there. And then we can obviously, can we only click this on this side? Apparently so. And then we can open the canopy and have a look at it from outside. So there you go. The Diamond DA-20 C, I think the full designation is, from iniBuilds. It's not too expensive, so if you're interested in this sort of aeroplane, or if you're flying one in the real world and you want something similar in the sim, then it's worth a look. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you again soon.